everyone doing? It's Thursday, a very gloomy day out there, and what a better day to be here with us at LiveGreen Toronto, Ontario Garlic Week, and Nepali Momo to be making some delicious food. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Mark Singh. I'm with the City of Toronto's Environment and Energy Division, the proud owners of the LiveGreen Toronto program. We're really thrilled that you're able to join us for today, the 11th episode of our LiveGreen at Home workshop series. I would like to start by acknowledging that the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Just a quick note that we are recording the session today. That is in order for us to be able to offer this recording to those who would have liked to have joined but were unable to do so. The session is posted on our YouTube channel after. Just keep that in mind as we go along. We are taking questions throughout the closer to the end, but we can take questions throughout the presentation. All you have to do is submit your question into the Q&A box that you see at the on the right side of your screen. And then I'll remind you about this a little bit later once we start to get into the demo itself, but there is a way for you to just see the two screens that are related to the demos, the chef and his tabletop or his working surface. If you look into your WebEx interface on the upper right corner, there should be a layout button, and there should be an option to just show participants or show participants. Uncheck the option to show participants without video, and then you'll only see the chef and his working station. But I'll remind you about that in a few minutes. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Peter McClusky, who is the founder of the Toronto Garlic Festival and Ontario Garlic Week. LiveGreen Toronto has long been a participant and a partner of the Toronto Garlic Festival, and we're really, really pleased to be able to support the launch of what is sure to be a really delicious Ontario Garlic Week. So over to you, Peter.
Mark, thank you very much, and thank you, LiveGreen Toronto. You guys have indeed been great supporters of Toronto Garlic Festival over the years in a lot of important ways, and we appreciate that. So this year, because of a thing called COVID, we did not have Toronto Garlic Festival, and we're actually turning a lemon into something that we may not have done, but could actually be a great thing going forward. And this is the inaugural year of Ontario Garlic Week. So we are bringing the festival experience to every hamlet and town and city in Ontario, where we are offering for restaurants across the province to cook a dish with Ontario garlic. So one or more dishes, or even drinks. There's a brewery doing a black garlic stout. There's a drive-in theater offering garlic powder on their popcorn. And all of this you can find out on our map. Here's a little screen grab behind me that shows locations across the province of restaurants cooking with Ontario garlic. So if you go to torontogarlicfestival.ca, you'll see there on the homepage a map, like the map behind me. Also, just Google Ontario Garlic Week, and it will take you to the homepage and the map where you can find restaurants near you cooking with garlic, or go on a road trip, an Ontario road trip, and visit many places from Thunder Bay to Sarnia to Ottawa, cooking with garlic. One thing I should say is you don't have to go to one of these places to participate in Ontario Garlic Week. What we're celebrating is this wonderful crop we grow here in Ontario, and you can participate from home, from your kitchen, from your garden. So a few ideas are go to a farmer's market, and there are many listed on the map, and buy some Ontario garlic and plant it in your backyard. Give out garlic as on Halloween night to kids. Instead of candy, give them garlic cloves, and that they can take home and plant, or their parents will cook with. Or you could try putting some extra garlic in a home cooked meal. You could try putting it in something that you wouldn't normally, like a grilled cheese sandwich or mac and cheese. Kimchi and garlic goes really great in a grilled cheese sandwich, for example. You could try black garlic, which goes really amazing with desserts. You could try adding garlic to a takeout meal that you order. You could buy some garlic and give it as a gift to someone with the holidays coming up. But for sure, stock up on garlic. You can get your winter supply at a farmer's market or from a farm by looking at the map behind me. And garlic stores for many months. So buy a good amount, and you'll have it on hand for the winter.
Peter, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Have you ever given garlic to Halloween trick-or-treaters, and what has the response been?
Well, my Aunt Nina, bless her heart, she passed away 2 years ago, but she did give away cloves to some trick-or-treaters. I think they maybe preferred the candy, but we have a couple of funny social media posts going out, maybe even today,
That's awesome.
kind of Halloween related, that are kind of speak to this, like, do the kids want it, or do the parents want to get the garlic more to put in their cooking?
That's awesome.
Right? But kids these days are pretty sophisticated. You know, they might appreciate the garlic if they're someone like Greta Thunberg, or maybe a person could do a candied garlic, so roasted garlic, and give it out to kids. So that's a nice segue to the versatility of Ontario garlic. Why do we celebrate this thing so much? Isn't garlic just garlic? Well, no. The garlic we grow in Ontario is especially good for a couple of reasons. One is it's a variety that you don't get in imported garlic. It's a hardneck garlic, and it's harder to grow. It takes more time.
I can't hear anything.
Hello? Oh, it takes more time to grow Ontario garlic. There's more effort required, but it's well worth the effort because the garlic tastes better. It's got a more robust flavor. You can do more things with it, like using it in desserts by roasting it or blanching it. It mellows the flavor. Black garlic is an amazing thing we make here from our Ontario garlic, which through a fermentation process, it turns black and has a flavor like licorice or tamarind. Goes really well with chocolates and ice cream. We have a couple of participants in Ontario Garlic Week. One of them is doing a black garlic chocolate bonbon, so check that out. The other thing about Ontario Garlic Week is we're supporting our farmers here. We have many great farmers across the province, and you'll find many of them on the map, from the nether regions of Northern Ontario down to southwestern Ontario. And you can buy garlic and other produce from these farmers just by clicking the appropriate box in the online map. So you can search on the map. You can search farmers markets or farm stand. You can search food and beverage. You can also search cinema to find the cinemas and drive-ins that are participating in Ontario Garlic Week. I'm excited about chatting with Nepali Momo today. Of course, they use garlic in their cuisine, but Nepal is right in the epicenter of where garlic originated in Southeast Asia. The Tian Shan Mountains are just a bit north of Nepal, and it's there that we think that garlic originated, and then through the spice routes and trade routes of ancient Asia, garlic made its way to Nepal and many other places around the world. So Nepal is, and Surendra will chat about this, has been isolated. It was somewhat isolated until, as I understand, the 1950s. So they have their own independent cooking and interpretation of a lot of dishes and use of garlic, which will be interesting to talk about. But Nepal would have been one of the first places to be introduced to garlic when we're talking a long time ago, centuries ago. And so they have some dishes. A lot of their cooking uses garlic, among other ingredients, local ingredients, but they rely a lot on their own local ingredients in their cuisine, which we'll chat about. Interesting thing about garlic is that it's used in virtually every cuisine in the world. And in some places it's embraced, in Asia, Eastern Europe, for example. In some places it has been kind of appreciated, but not openly. So the British, the Anglo classes didn't always like to use garlic, or they would, but wouldn't admit it. A good example of that is Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce is got garlic in it, and it was used as a tonic in the 19th century by the British, and they would have said they only used it from its medicinal value, but secretly they were enjoying the garlic. So quite fascinating history around garlic and its use and how it's been embraced and openly acknowledged, but not always. So without further ado, I'll introduce Surendra from Nepali Momo, and we'll continue.
If I could just pop in really quickly, just to remind everyone that if you click on the layout button on the top right, in the top right of your WebEx screen, and you uncheck Show Participants Without Video, then what you will do is enable yourself to see the chef's two screens in as big as possible, so you can follow along with the presentation. Back to you, Peter. Sorry about that.
Sure. I will pass the baton to Surendra from Nepali Momo. Pardon?
Can you hear me okay? Because I was having audio problems earlier.
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter, to Ontario Garlic Week, Toronto Garlic Festival, and also LiveGreen Toronto, right, for giving us this opportunity. So thank you for joining us, everybody who's joining us online. Today we're gonna make momos. Momos are one of my favorite dishes. Whenever say somebody invites me over for momos, my eyes literally, joy up, right? So I think it's momos. If you don't know what momos are, they're originally Tibetan. They're originally from Tibet, right? But Nepal has a long, history with Tibet because they border. There's been long, trade and cultural, for ages, right? So Nepal, momos has been in Nepali fabric, Nepali cuisine of the Nepali fabric for a long time. So anyway, so today we're gonna make chicken momos. I have 2 pounds of ground chicken here. For the chicken, I'm using dark meat, meat from the thighs, just to make it a little more juicy, right? Momos are better when it's juicy, but obviously you can also choose to use lean meat. I got 3 medium onions, finely diced, 1 bunch of coriander, finely chopped, 3 bunches of green onion, 1 tablespoon of coriander and cumin, 1 each, 3 cloves of garlic, like about a thumb-sized ginger, 2 tablespoons salt, 1 teaspoon pepper, about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1/3 cup of water, and about 1/3 cup of olive oil. But before you start, yes.
My apologies. We are getting some comments from the audience that the sound isn't great. One suggestion is to move the mic closer to your mouth, and actually maybe putting it on your lapel, or just on the inside of your shirt there would probably help.
Okay, so is that better?
Oh yeah, it actually is. Thank you.
Okay, it makes a lot of difference, I guess. Yeah, so so the ingredients are, I just went over the ingredients, but you can also Candice gonna later on give you a recipe card that has all the ingredients. So I'm not gonna go over it, right? But before you mix the filling, you have to get the dough ready. Right, so before the session started, I needed some 8 cups of all-purpose flour. You can also use maida, which is South Asian, all-purpose flour. I used about 6 cups of very warm water. The idea is, so you want to use it as warm as possible. that it doesn't burn your hands, right? So the warm water kind of loosens up the all-purpose flour very well. And I just let it sit here about 15-20 minutes. 2 tablespoons of oil, olive oil, and so it just sets it properly, right? So now I'm gonna mix my filling. So basically, you just pour everything in a big bowl, right? The chopping part is what takes, I guess, the longest. And I got some ginger already minced here, but I'm just gonna mince one more garlic next, for example. So these garlic are that I bought at Withrow Park Farmers Market that we were also part of. That just ended recently. It's Ontario garlic. It's from this vendor called Organic Vibes. Desmond, he's based in Ontario, in London, and he also farms in London. Right? And the onions that I'm using, the onions and the green onions, are actually that I grew on that I grew them. I have a bed, 70 feet long bed, 4 feet wide that I've leased in Roos Valley, where I'm growing some hot peppers. But on the edges, I also grew some onions. So when during the growing season, when we had it, we also use it as our ingredients. So for the garlic, you use 3 cloves, but I've already minced the other 2 cloves just to save some time, right? So now you want to really give it a good mix. And I'm going to use the water towards the latter part, right? So you want to use water to make it juicy. So sometimes you might have to add a little more. So that's why I like to add it towards the end.
Surendra, does it matter how finely a person chops the garlic? If they chop it fine or coarse?
Yeah, it should be chopped fine, right? Because we want the juice of the garlic and not necessarily the garlic itself, I guess.
Okay.
And for chopping the veggies, I usually use, for the onions, I usually use a food processor and chop the green onions and coriander by my hand. But today I chop everything by my hand because it's smaller.
Could you bring the mix up closer to the camera so we can see the consistency of the grain? Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Nice.
So that I'm gonna add some water, 1/3 cup.
And you mentioned using dark meat from chicken. If a person is using white meat, would they change some of the other ingredients?
I mean, it will be less, dark meat has a little more fat, right? So it's a little more juicy. So you can obviously use lean meat, but so that means I think that it'll be less juicy.
Okay.
So I guess other option would be add some butter or a little more water, those kind of things, right?
Understood. Okay.
But the thing about dumplings is when you take a bite, it has to be juicy, right? So that's why I'm using dark meat. So my filling is more or less ready. So now I'm going to work in the dough.
And this filling you made, a person could make it. I'm thinking about someone watching this for the first time. They think, "Oh, I'll never be able to do this." But once you do it once or twice, is it like riding a bicycle where it's something you could actually do quite quickly?
Yeah, so I mean, no, the momos, dumplings, not only momos but dumplings. I think, yeah, it does. Like at the first, it does seem overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But I think the filling is the easy part. I think, right? So just getting the dough right, and folding them by hand is more the difficult part. Does it make sense?
I see. Yeah.
So because filling, you just take the measurements, fill it up.
Yeah, because I'm watching you do this, and it looks like a real art form, and that's interesting to watch, but maybe frightening to do for someone watching. But once they learn this uh, and try it the first few times, it's something they could make often.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, momos are a very good, dish to invite friends over during a cold winter, evening, sit around the table, chit chat, and so it's, I mean, obviously, like you're not going to be an expert in the first try.
Yeah.
But but people can definitely do it.
Could
And
we,
in the meantime, while I'm doing this, I'm gonna start my. Let's see, what would be the best? I'm gonna bring my steamer. Get it started.
I just wanted to address one thing before we moved on, Surendra. So in the recipe, I mean, we've just for the sake of the magic of TV, but for efficiency's sake, we've skipped the sort of dough mixing part. In the recipe, you mention using very warm water. Could you speak to what that means so that those who are not familiar with the process of making dumplings understand?
Sure. Yeah, actually, the dough is quite crucial because if you made dough before, it can go wrong, right? So for our business, sometimes, we make 1,000 momos a day, right? So there are always a good dough day, bad dough day, right? So when the dough is good, it makes the dumpling making process easy. So, so when you want to mix your dough, right? So you want to use very warm water, as warm as it can be, but without burning your hands, right? Because you'll be working your hands, to mix the dough. So that's what I mean. Right? So usually, I boil some water, mix it with a little cold water so that I can work with it. So what the warm water does is, it kind of loosens up the all-purpose flours very well.
What temperature should it be?
Yeah, so I mean, it should be as warm as it can be that you can work with your hands. So I don't know, right? I mean, close to boiling, but obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it would be less than boiling, but not. Yeah, probably significantly less than boiling because comfortable for the hand is about 37 degrees Celsius. So we're probably looking at about 40, 50 degrees Celsius. And that'll all depend on personal pain tolerance.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't measured the temperature, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's more by feel, right? So you after the dough, you usually want to wrap it up in a plastic, let it sit for 15-20 minutes. That makes it, it's set. The dough is set better, right? And once you get it out, you want to, knead a little bit, so that makes it softer. And one way to tell the dough is, if you kind of press your finger, I don't know if you can see it, it shouldn't be sticking, right? So it kind of this, it should feel. Right now, I think this is a very good dough. So once you're ready to make some, wrappers. I just kind of put my finger below here and kind of use my, I guess, index finger and middle finger, kind of like making a ball. And I just keep making it in small balls like this.
Can a person?
How we're doing with time, so I don't want to make too many of these, so I'll just make, I guess, 5 for today.
Surendra, can a person make the filling? Making the filling is the easy part. Can a person buy the wrappers in a freezer section in a supermarket?
Yeah, definitely. Like, most Asian stores, I guess like major Loblaws, all those, they have like those wonton wrappers. They usually either square or rectangle or circle, right? So, so you can easily make those, but the taste is definitely different. Like
yes,
wrapping a momo from scratch, and then the factory made. There's a big difference.
A cool thing about momos is it's an opportunity when you're cooking for kids, and kids don't always like to eat their vegetables. You can hide those vegetables in the momo.
Yeah, and basic momos are great, right? Basic momos are definitely more difficult to make than chicken momos because just putting the right kind of veggies, and it does take a little bit of experimentation to find to make the right kind of filling.
So we have a question from the audience about how many momos does a recipe make. I'll mention that the recipe card we sent out uses half of the ingredients quantities that you see the chefs using in that big bowl. And that recipe card makes, I think it was 25 momos. Is that correct, you guys? So enough for about 3 to 4 people. So the recipe card itself, which all participants, registrants will have received, the quantity makes 25 momos. And then the other half of that question was, can they be frozen before cooking? So I think once you've made the momos, can you freeze them at that point before they're steamed?
Yeah, so yeah, you can definitely. Sorry, Mark, did I cut you off?
No, please go ahead.
No, you can definitely freeze the momos, and I think that's what you do because all this takes a certain amount of time, right? So what you can do is obviously cook some for your lunch, dinner, whatever, but you can freeze them, and they once you freeze them, you don't have to thaw them. You can cook them directly from frozen. So your meal will be ready in 12 minutes, right? So that's a good thing about momos, and they easily last 3 4 weeks in the freezer without losing much taste.
Thank you. I will have you guys know that as somebody from Trinidadian culture, we use a rolling pin and dough all the time, and Chef Surendra is showing some serious skills with that rolling pin right now as he's rolling out his dough. We'll all need to do some practicing in order to get to that level of efficiency and preciseness and to making the circular doughs.
You should see some of my teammates. They're even so much better than I am. Some of my team members.
Surendra,
yeah,
when a person gets fast making filling the momos, how fast can they do it? Or another way to say it is, how many momos can a momo maker make?
Well, so it is a team, right? One person needs to make the ball. The other needs to do the rolling, and there's maybe 2 or 3 people, constantly making. So I don't know. So maybe, I think to make 1,000 momos or 1,200 momos, you spend about 8 hours.
Wow. Okay.
That's chopping and everything, right?
Everything. Okay.
Like chopping, prepping, lunch break and all that stuff, right?
So I could imagine people having momo making parties.
Yeah, momo making parties are huge, especially obviously among families, families, but also among youth, like when they just want to hang out, have friends over.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab a spoon, which I forgot, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
I noticed the very beautiful two heads of Ontario garlic just sitting casually off the corner of the screen there. Note, nice placement there, Chef Surendra.
Yeah. But this is the garlic from
And Surendra, how you run a business selling momos and other products? Can you tell us about your business and how people can buy your momos?
Yeah, so I've sold you to make all this, but if you don't want to get into all this, you can have our momos with the same recipe. What we do is we usually in the summertime we sell our momos, fresh momos in farmers market, like we were at Withrow Park Farmers Market, Campbellstown, and the Met Farmers Market in downtown. But that's over, right? But throughout the year, we also do free delivery of frozen momos within Toronto city limits. So we sell them bags of 25 pieces. They're frozen, so we do door-to-door service. Like you can just go online, our website, www.nepalimomo.ca. So we do twice a week delivery, Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Nepalimomo.ca. Very good.
Yeah, and that URL is on that URL is on the recipe card as well for those who are curious. And Chef Surendra, could you bring exactly, thank you, just so we can see the folding action in greater detail. Thank you.
Yeah, so I put about like a teaspoonful of filling in there. So now so we kind of want to press this. So there's multiple ways, right? So the idea is to I think it all not easy, but I forgot. So the idea is to use one hand. I'm a right-handed person, so I'm going to use my right hand to do the folding, and the other hand really to hold the wrapper. And sometimes I need to push the meat inside, so I use my thumb. So really, you're just using the right hand, right? So I'm going to start.
This dough doesn't need a
like
binder, does it? Like, doesn't need like an egg wash or water or anything of the sort to have it stick?
If you're using the factory made, the one that you bought in the stores, you need water to water the moisten the edges. But if it's pressed dough, they just stick on the floor.
Okay.
So as you can see, I'm kind of like pushing the filling with my thumb, and then when it comes towards the end, you kind of just wrap it like this. I mean, this is not the best looking one. I'll make all the one better than this.
Beautiful. You're going to need to show us that 1,000 more times,
make it
please.
airtight, so that all the juices are in there.
That's like
How are we
magic.
doing in time?
We have lots of time. Please go ahead.
And you can use other types of meat?
Yeah, you can use any type of meat, right? I mean, as you know, like dumplings are all cultures. Most cultures have dumplings. They can be any filling. You can use beef. Water buffalo momos are very popular in Nepal.
Wow.
Which you can also find in Ontario, by the way.
This may be a silly question because Nepal is landlocked. Is there such a thing as a fish momo?
Okay, that's a no. There is things such as fish momo, but because fish cooks so easily, it's probably actually I don't have a recipe for fish momo.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
a good recipe. So it is possible, but I think it's more challenging. So, for example, veggie momo is it's challenging and it's also a lot of work for us, right?
Right.
Just the prepping, because we use a lot of ingredients. And one of the reasons I did chicken momo today was this. It's an easier recipe.
So you cut on the end there. You cut at the very end. You kind of twist further and then use your thumb to create the dimple in the middle.
Yeah. So you pinch one corner and then just fold with your index finger, and just continue that until makes.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call skills.
And actually, my team members are they're really better than I am at this stuff. They kind of like pinch it, So as you can see, this one didn't quite close properly.
So there's a question from the audience that are you leaving a hole at the top for steam to escape?
No, that's not necessarily true for anything. That's more for aesthetics, but you can. It has kind of like value. But it's just more for aesthetics reason. But some people also make it without that, right? So you can also do that.
And I imagine, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, this is just one of the many ways to potentially fold. You could do quite a simple fold with the dumpling if you wanted, right? You don't necessarily have to do like you could do like almost like an empanada fold or something of the sort, right?
Yeah, no.
If you really wanted to.
Yeah, there's different ways, right? So there's even simpler where you put like 3 ends together, and the idea is it just has to be it has to be tight, right? So that juices stay in. So I'm going to put the momos in now. So so one of the things happens. So basically it's just a steamer. It has multiple stacks. I'm only using one because I'm making 2 today. The water is already in full boil. So what you want to do is, you want to apply some nonstick, like putting a nonstick oil, because the momos tend to stick on the surface, once you pull it out, right? So you don't want them to break. So I'm just going to put them in. And what happens is the momos, once they steam, they're going to grow inside. So you want to make sure that you leave some space, in between each. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. So these are some of the frozen momos. These green ones are vegan. I'm also put them, so I'm going to put them here.
So
these ones are veggie. So if you cook for about 12 minutes, it'll be ready.
Wow. And
so,
there's no oil.
So the chicken momo takes about 12 to 15 minutes. Veggie and vegan takes about 10 minutes. And the frozen momos take a few minutes more, like 2 minutes or 1 minute more. So by the time in 12 minutes, everything should be ready. Yeah.
Are some dumplings in some cultures cooked in oil?
Can you repeat that again, please?
My question is, I think in some cultures, they make dumplings, they cook them in oil. In your culture, it's always steamed.
Yeah, so that's I guess the easiest way to cook momos are in steamers. But if you don't have a steamer, there's also other ways you can cook. Like you can also do other ways to eat the momos is it's called kote. So basically, what that means is you steam the momo and then take it to a pan and like fry them on light oil. Right, so it will make part of the momo crusty. Right, so that's called kote. The frozen momos, you can also cook them on a pan. You can also kind of like steam them in a pan, little bit of oil and fry them a little bit and add water. But you still have to kind of steam it. But you can also cook them in boiling water. If you go to our website, nepalimomo.ca/cook, we have few videos that show you different ways of cooking, like frozen momos, for example.
And if you put them in a pan, then I guess you'd keep a lid on it to keep the steam in.
Yeah. So even though you're cooking in pan, you're still kind of steaming it. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And if you don't have, like, let's say, non-stick oil handy or oil handy, you can also use like vegetable leaves, like cabbage leaf, put it on top of the surface of the pot, and you can place your dumplings on top of it. Right? So basically, you can have the cabbage or whatever leaf you have with the momo that are in it. So that you can also do that.
So people don't really need any special equipment to make these.
No, like these days, a lot of rice cooker also have steamers. The people use vegetable steamers. So so you don't need a pan, non-stick pan that has a cover will do.
So I read that in Nepal, garlic is a big crop there. It's one of the a major source of income for farmers.
What is a big crop? I didn't catch that.
Garlic.
Yeah. No, like garlic is used in Nepali cuisine a lot, like ginger and garlic. So for everything, because the main staple for Nepali food is dal bhat. Basically, dal means dal, lentils, and bhat means rice, right? So our staple is really based upon so for you can use the garlic, there's a word called chande. After the dal is all cooked, at the very end, with some ghee or with some oil or with some butter, you can fry garlic a little bit and add to that. So that just gives a little more flavor, and we also eat a lot of curries, right? For all that, you need garlic, right? So it's a very, very, very important. If you don't add garlic, there's some. Let's say you make like chicken curry, right? So there's something is missing, right?
And I read in Nepal too that they do a lot of no-till garlic cultivation.
So I didn't catch that. Can you put that in, please?
I read that in Nepal the garlic farmers use no-till growing, so they don't always till the soil when they plant the garlic.
Yeah, I mean, Nepal is the most. It's a very mountainous, hilly country, right?
Right.
So we don't have, I mean, these days the primary economic is going overseas and going to the Middle East and working and all that stuff. So remittance is the main economy. But in the past, it used to be like farming. Was the main how people sustain their lives. And so it's very mountainous, and we don't have like huge, like big industries that do big farmland, right? So it's just people, family, have acre of land or less, where they till, with their, buffaloes and what have you, right? So, and it's also very mountainous, so it does not allow to, use those big machinery, right? So yeah, it is, so for the garlic, I mean, definitely it does not require too much timber.
Okay.
But, it's a very different landscape than Ontario, right? It's people are farming, slope of a hill or mountain, so it's a, it's a very, actually it's a very harsh conditions to farm.
If I understand, they grow the garlic in the rice paddies after the rice is harvested. Is that correct?
I think they generally grow garlic. So there's two words. Cake means where that's where they grow rice. That's that's the paddy field. And usually I think they don't grow garlic. They would go in a barley. Barley means like in a place where they would grow corn and vegetables such as like alliums such as garlic, onions. So it's not. I think it's a different place than where they grow. Different place than paddy fields. So where basically paddy fields would have a lot of water because rice requires a lot of water, and rice is usually planted during monsoon seasons where there's a lot of water, whereas garlic would be planted in the fall or spring, so where there's not as much water is required, right? So.
And for people who don't know, Nepal, if I'm not mistaken, is between India and China.
Yeah, so Nepal, the three borders, east, west, south borders with India, and the north borders, there's the Himalayas, and across the Himalayas is Tibet, right? Which is now, part of, I guess, China. Right? So yeah, so it does border Tibet, and as I said earlier, the specific Kathmandu was part of the trading route between India and Tibet to Lhasa. So it was a kind of like a hub, in terms of cuisine, in terms of culture. So there's a long history, culturally, politically, there's been a few wars and stuff like that.
Wow. And it was a hub, and yet I read that Nepal was somewhat isolated until the 1950s. And that's why some of its cuisine is quite unique.
Yeah, no, it was definitely isolated, right? So I mean, when I guess the British Empire was in India, Nepal was independent. I mean, I guess the British were not interested, on hills and mountains and what have you, right? I mean, they did, I guess, colonize Darjeeling and all that area, but they never entered Nepal. Right? I mean, there was a war with the British when they were in India, and there was a treaty signed later on, and we lost some land, but I guess it was never. So yeah, it was isolated, and only in the 50s, I think, during the hippie era, there's a lot of, there was hash, that could easily be found, and there was a lot of tourists who went there. Right? So yeah, so it was isolated, but one of the things about Nepal is even though it's small in size, it's quite populated, like about 24 million people for its size, but it's very diverse. It's so it has a lot of indigenous nationalities. There's over 100 languages spoken. So every valley has its own way, cuisine, and ingredients they use and stuff like that. Right? So yeah, so yeah.
So
if I could quickly interject, sorry, I think now as we come to the last few minutes of the momos being steamed, now would be a good time for the members of our audience to ask questions that they may have, so we can get to them before we have to wrap precisely at 1 o'clock. I'm going to start with one question that came in quite a bit earlier from Duncan. The name sounds very familiar. Who says that I start all of my meals with oil and garlic and then try to figure out what to make, which sounds like a great strategy to me. Getting pre-crushed garlic in a jar seems to have a different taste than freshly crushed garlic. Curious if you know why that is the case. So when you buy those sort of pre-chopped garlic in the grocery store, tastes different than fresh garlic. Anybody have a suggestion why?
Can I answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, when you crush garlic, you're setting off a chemical reaction. Cells are combining and releasing chemicals and creating new chemicals that go on for several minutes. And that's when the flavor of garlic is intense and really amazing. You can crush garlic and chop it and put it in a jar with oil and buy it in that way in the store. Which for some people is great, but it won't have the same intensity as when you crush garlic fresh as you're making your meal and using the garlic within a few minutes. So Michael Statlander is a well-known Toronto chef, and he says he uses garlic à la minute. In other words, when he chops it up, he uses it within about 10 minutes. It can't sit on the counter like other chopped things like, say, parsley or carrots.
Thanks, Peter. That's very, very interesting. Duncan, I hope that answered your question. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, here we go. What is for Chef Surendra, what is your favorite type of momo to eat? Now you're showing favorites amongst the kids.
So I think meat momos. I do like beef momos. But I have to say I'm really a big fan of our veggie and vegan momos, right? Because veggie and vegan momos are quite tricky to make and get it right. But what I like is I like jhol momo. So there's a thing called jhol momo. Basically, the jhol momo is a Nepali inventor. The people of Kathmandu, the indigenous Newars who are indigenous to the Kathmandu Valley. They've come up with jhol momo. Basically, jhol momo is jhol, loosely translated in Nepali is sauce or soup. So what you do is they make let's say you get a bowl of momos and you drown the momos with that sauce and eat it like a soup. So I would say jhol momo, jhol beef momo is my favorite thing to eat.
Great, thank you. And a number of people have asked. What would be your recommendation for sauce? Like what goes into a sauce that would match well with or be nice to serve on the side with these momos? Yeah, so I'm about to plate my the momos are cooked now. I've turned the steamer off. So I have two kind of sauces here. The one on the right with the bigger, more like the orange color, is our regular sauce, which is basically based on tomato and hemp seeds. Traditionally, instead of hemp seeds, sesame seeds is used. People also use dry soybean, but this one we decided to give a little more twist, and for somehow hemp feels more North American than Nepali. So that's our mild sauce, and the one on the left is our chili flakes. Salt and pepper sauce, right? So salt and pepper is also very much used in Nepali cuisine. So the idea is one is regular sauce, not so hot, one is hot sauce, and then you can either use either of them or mix them together. So you get your. So I'm gonna take my momos now. So you would, dip the momos in the sauce, or you could
guess, just drop the momos in the sauce, right? Depending on what kind of sauce you want. Kids also love it with ketchup, because it's kind of on the street. So, here is the 3 chicken momos are on the top that we made, and this is our frozen vegan. And the raw momo sauce that we make is we use perilla seeds, sesame seeds, dry soybean, and there's obviously tomatoes. You kind of cook the tomatoes and ginger, garlic, and then you kind of put in a blender and then blend them all together, kind of thing, which is very good.
So there's another question. In Chinese culture, we don't eat dumplings every day. I'm curious to know if momos are commonly consumed, maybe more on a daily basis in Nepal, or is it more for special occasions?
Yeah, so I mean, no, yeah. So we don't eat dumplings every day neither in Nepali cuisine. So the main staples in Nepali thing that we eat every day is dal bhat, which is rice and lentils and curries and what have you, right? So the momos are at home. It'll be occasional things. Let's say somebody says, okay, it's Saturday. Let's say it's Saturday. The family wants to get together and do something, for their lunch. So they make momos. Or it's Saturday night and the kids want to get together, in their dorms or whatever. They decide to have momos. Or momos are extremely popular street food in urban areas, not only in Nepal, but these days also in South Asia, like Delhi, Bombay, all those, in South Asia, right? So if you go to Kathmandu, there's a lot of gullies, which are actually small, narrow alleyways. So you go from one neighborhood to another, you see like small hole in the wall, like a momo joint. Like there's this, all filled up all of this, right? So you could have, for let's say you're up and about, quick lunch, you could have momos. Yeah, so that's how you eat momo. It's part of the, I guess, more popular culture.
Thank you. So I think we are very close to wrapping up. Are there any final questions or any final comments from Chef Surendra or from Peter?
Question for Chef Surendra, just repeat to where people can buy your momos.
Yeah, so so we provide frozen momos, and people can pick them up from Scarborough anytime. Before there's every calls beforehand. But we also do free delivery of the frozen bag. Each bag has 25 pieces. Our momos come in chicken, veggie, and vegan. It also comes with sauces. So if you just go online to our website, which is Nepali, Nepali, momo.ca. And if you just go /store, you'll get to the place you buy the momos. But if you want to read all the ingredients, just go to our website and just place an order there. We accept credit cards, Apple Pay, PayPal, what have you, right? So we do door-to-door delivery twice a week, free delivery, but within the total limits. Anything outside, we'll have to either set a minimum order, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, if you don't want to go through this trouble, try our momos and definitely place an order.
Or if you don't want to go to the trouble of buying them from you, you can make them from home from scratch.
You can make them from scratch. But these days, momos are quite popular in Toronto, right? You go to Parkdale, there's tons of places. Right? So, but I have to say there are fewer in the East End. I think because there's a large Tibetan community in Parkdale, and there's a lot of restaurants there. There's fewer establishments in the East End, and we're one of them.
Yeah. And you're also on the Ontario Garlic Week map.
Yes, we're on the Ontario Garlic Week app, right? So there's other really good other people that we work with, like Magic Oven and other people that use garlic that can also order from. Yeah.
And there's a comment from some fellow named Duncan who says he has ordered your frozen momos before and that they are amazing. So with that, I think that's a great way to wrap. With that, I will say thank you to everyone who has participated today. Thank you so much to Chef Surendra Lawoti from Nepali Momo and to Peter McClusky from Ontario Garlic Week. we're really, really pleased at LiveGreen Toronto to be a part of and a supporter of Ontario Garlic Week and the Toronto Garlic Festival. We look forward to the next week of deliciousness coming from Ontario Garlic Week. Check out the website. Peter, it's torontogarlicfestival.ca.
Yes.
Yes. And you will find the map of all the participating venues, restaurants, farmers markets, that kind of things. And for more information on how you can rethink your relationship with food, to go green, to help our planet, to make an impact on climate change, visit livegreentoronto.ca. I would like to thank our staff team who made today possible. Candice and Adam, thank you so much. Thank you again to Surendra and to Peter. Have a wonderful rest of your day. For those of you who did try to cook along with us, I hope your momos turned out well. Enjoy. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.